That was fast, everybody. I went live, and I'm already live. Crap. All right, let me go take my headphones off. I was right at the good part, too. God damn it. Normally, when I click go live, it's a minute and a half sometimes before I'm actually live. But hey, we're live, everybody. All right, let me get my all messages set up here. All right, looks like we got Zini and Dade and Michael. Hello, hello, hello. We got a few more people lurking, so I will say hello to you as well. We're going to get right in on the feedings because we do have a work we're going to do tonight, and I think you'll all be excited about it. We're going to take down the existing tower, and we're going to put up that other one. I did tinker with the hanging apparatus and the way I'm going to mount it. So I think I've got everything I need, and I think I've got it all set up properly, but I've not actually done it. I haven't put it on there. I haven't filled it with water or anything like that. So you never know. I think it'll work. I think everything will be fine. But we may see the great, fish pond disaster unfold tonight. Again, I don't think we will. But I've thought plenty of things over the years that didn't turn out to be the way I thought they were. All right. Oh, it looks like I got a bunch of, I'm assuming this is a product of my ADHD. Look at this. I just found this thing of ChemiClean lying down here on its side, and right next to it is the spoon and all that ChemiClean lying there. So I think I actually set the spoon on top of here full of powder, like showing people like this is how much powder you put in there, and then just set it down and promptly forgot about it. And so I must have knocked it over and knocked that down, because I do stuff like that all the time. If I don't deal with it right now, I will forget about it when I walk away and do something else. I've literally forgotten I was in the middle of a live stream before. I'll grant you, that's usually a mushroom night when I forget I'm live streaming. But I have gone in the other room and come back in and seen the camera and thought, oh shit, that's right. Forgot I was live. All right, looks like we got Laura joining us. Hello, Laura. Ooh, that Gus emoji actually turns out pretty damn good. The other ones, like the one on my face, you can't see really well because it's so much detail condensed down so small. But Gus really pops. All right, it looks like I've got everybody there. If you're asking how much food I put in the tanks when I do a feeding, it depends on the tank. I put more in. If there's a lot of fish, I put less in. If it's a few fish, I probably tend to overfeed a little bit, but, that's just me. If you're asking how often I feed, it's once a day. Neil. No, Gus is the name of the mushroom with the smiley face on it. I showed everybody that mushroom on Friday night's live stream, and Zini named it Gus. So I painted a little smiley face on it with a Sharpie. And then I took some pictures of it. I made a meme. I made a GIF out of it. I've actually been making GIFs over the last couple of days. I've been having fun with that. It's really easy to do. And then once I did it, I was like, hey, that was fun. So I've made some fucking legendary memes over the last couple of days already. But Gus got made into an emoji there. And then I threw him in the grinder and made him into tea yesterday. So Gus was, I enjoyed Gus for my evening enjoyment last night, my evening experience. I actually took quite a lot tonight. I took 1.5 grams of like really small mushrooms, so they should be pretty damn potent. And I took 1.5 grams instead of my usual gram. So we'll see what tonight unfolds to be. So it's already starting to kick in. I drank it about 7:30. Zine will, Gus will always be with us in spirit. All right. For those of you who are unaware, Steve did give me a 6-gallon rimless tank, although in the circumstances there is a rim around the bottom, and since we'll be putting it in the tank upside down, it's not really accurate to call it a rimless tank, but technically it's a rimless 6-gallon tank, and we're going to install that in the pond as a fish tower instead of that plastic one I have. And I'm already beginning to realize, I don't know why this never crossed my mind when I did it before, but the way the light is shining on that, the amount of algae and stuff that's growing inside there, this is going to be something I'm going to have to take down and clean on a regular basis if we expect to be able to see the fish swimming around inside of it. Now, the upshot, of course, is that the goldfish like the algae, and they do help to keep it somewhat clean, but they can't, they're not scraping the glass clean or wiping the glass clean. They're just eating the loose algae that they can get to. And so the glass is still going to have a green, overall appearance like the tower does here, unless I get in there, and I might be able to give it a reach around and come up underneath and just sort of wipe out the inside without disassembling it, but we'll have to wait and see. So tonight we're going to have to do a little bit of a water change. We're going to have to drain the water out. I think we'd be okay just tipping over the tower, but there are 3 gallons of water in that tower, and I got to remember that's going to go into the pond. So if it's close to full, I don't want the 3 gallons overflowing it, but I'm looking at it now, and there's no way 3 gallons is going to put that anywhere near the top. I still think we'll do a little water change on it, though. In fact, let me go get the hose in there, and we'll start draining that right now. Normally, I would put a pump on this tank because by nature of the fact that it sits right down on the floor, you don't get a lot of gravity feed. You don't get a lot of suction when you set up a siphon. But I'm not really going for a huge water change tonight. I'm just going to knock the water level down a couple of inches, and then we'll do our thing, and then we'll fill it back up afterwards. But I do want to try to show you when the water level gets low enough that it breaks the seal, we'll start losing water in the tower, and bubbles will start going up in it. It won't happen all at once. When the water level gets to the edge of the seal and air can get in, as the air goes in, the water will come out. But as the water comes out, it's going to add water to the tank. And so the level will come up a little bit and will block the air from going in again. And then as the water change continues, it will, do it again. So we're not going to get this moment where all the water comes gushing out of the, at least I don't expect we would. So maybe I'll find out I'm wrong about that too. Maybe it will all just suddenly come out at once. Who knows? Once the air gets to sucking in, it'll just keep going as the water dumps out. But I'm not expecting that to happen. So let's see if I am wrong again. We'll have a few minutes before the water level gets down there, but not much. It's only got about 1/2 inch to drop before it breaks that seal. All right, let's see. Where was I? Bobby, how are you? I'm having a decent enough New Year's so far. Yeah, the water will start to shoot out the bottom and it'll launch like a rocket. That'll be awesome. All right, let's move on to the next tank. Oh, just knocked my trash can over. And I'm going to leave the light on the pond on for now so I can see what's going on in there. So pardon the glare. I've gotten in the habit with this tank of starting with the crisps because they all seem to really like this once they get over being afraid of my hand. And the angelfish, and in particular that jewel cichlid you see there. The jewel cichlid seems really enthusiastic about the flakes, but never seems too keen on the algae wafers. It does eat them, but it doesn't like come running out for the algae wafers the way it does these flakes. And of course, the angelfish probably does better getting fed flakes rather than having to pick algae wafers off of the bottom. So I've gotten in the habit of throwing some of them in, and then I throw less algae wafers in because the silver dollars, frankly, do also eat the flake food. So I don't need to have as much of the algae wafers in there for the silver dollars either. But I've got that shark. I've got a couple of plecos in that tank. I know we often forget I got that little clown pleco in there, but I do have a little clown pleco in there. And then, of course, I got that big ass pleco in there. And they all need, the algae wafers and stuff off the bottom. I was looking at that pleco this morning. He was up on the piece of wood when I turned the lights on. I was just watching him cruise around. He is a really fucking awesome fish, and he's getting really big. All right. Thank you for the thank you for the goldfish. Thank you for the stop signs. Yeah, Arknight suggested to do the fish tower. You don't actually have to suck the air out. What you can do is just put the tank underwater, get it full, and then just lift it up into position. And I tried doing that with the 3-gallon tower, and I couldn't lift it up. It's not that I can't lift 3 gallons of water, but under the circumstances where it's positioned and the fact that you've got to lift it up so it's just I needed to have the edge of it about a 1/4 inch under the surface while I slid it. Like, it was just impossible. So I wound up just sucking the air out of it. And of course, as you suck the air out, the water pushes up inside of it and just fills the vacuum. So that's what we're going to do with the 6-gallon as well. If I couldn't get a 3-gallon into position comfortably, I'm certainly not going to be able to do it with a 6-gallon, especially because I'm going to have to put the 6-gallon into position, hold it with one hand while I prop the leg up for the outside leg of it that's going to hold it in place. You'll see what I mean when we do it. There's no way I would be able to do all that while trying to hold a full 6-gallon tank up with one hand and etc. So as I said, it may just collapse under its own weight. I have no idea what's going to happen when I actually hang this up, but I think it's going to work. What I've done is I've taken 2 pieces of plant stake and I have bent them into this position here. So you can probably figure out that goes over the side of the pond. And then I've got that little hook on the end there. That little hook is going to be what the edge of the fish tank just sort of hooks onto. I've got 2 of these. So I'm going to have one side with just a hook holding it at each corner. And then on the outside towards the center of the pond, it's just going to have a leg underneath of it holding it up from the center. I think that should, it's only 6 gallons of water. I know that's a lot. It's 38 pounds or 40 pounds or something. No, it's more than that. 48 pounds, 50 pounds. So I don't know. I think it'll be fine. We'll see. We're going to find out one way or the other. All right. And we're getting really close to where that water is going to break the seal here. So let's come over and have a look at that while it happens. So you can see we're right there on the edge of the water, not quite being in there. So what I expect to happen, I'm going to try to just set you down, but it isn't going to just sit here. So I'll sit down next to you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and spark my joint. And I'm going to smoke some joint while we wait and see what happens. I'm expecting like a big glub, 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 bunch of bubbles will go up and then it'll just stop. And the water level will come down by an inch or 2. Any second now. Any second. How's this for building suspense? I swear to God, that water level is right fucking there. I don't know how it's not actually breaking the seal yet. I also noticed when I was looking at this the other day, if you don't know how I set this up, I took a trash can, just a cheap little plastic trash can, and I cut the two wide sides open, just cut the sides out of it so it was just open. And then I cut the middle out of one of the narrow sides, it was a rectangular trash can. And I was trying to open all four sides so it would effectively be like four legs underneath of it. And after cutting the thin side out, or, the narrow side out on the one end, I just pushed down on it a little bit and it just kind of collapsed under my hand. So I left the other side fully intact. And so we have it setting on that. It basically has one broad side on it, and then it's got the two legs on the other end. And the one side of the legs are all like wrinkled and buckled. How it hasn't actually just collapsed into the tank at this point, I don't know. And how that water level has not gotten below that fucking lip is just beyond me at this point. Is it like surface tension, like holding water to it or something? I swear to God, the level is below the surface of the tank now. And if you hadn't noticed, I got my microphone fixed, so I'm actually using my real microphone instead of the laptop microphone. That was something that was completely stupid as well. I was making the idiotic assumption that I needed to go into my microphone settings in my laptop because, I was having problems with, the microphone. So I know it was silly of me to look in the microphone area, but I was looking in the microphone. Where I should have been looking was in the sound settings. And if you go into the sound settings, there is an option for your source. And when I opened that up, it was clear as a bell. It was internal mic or Mevo mic. And there we go. Look at that. Is it going to go? Oh, the whole thing's going to go. Look at it. Oh, no, it did exactly what I said it was going to do. Look at that. I was right. It's a little more aggressive than I thought it was going to be, but it still did exactly what I said it was going to do. That was pretty cool. So this isn't self-regulating. As long as it's doing that, then it'll never overflow the pond because it doesn't lose water until that seal gets broken. Once it fills it back up to the seal, it will stop draining, and we'll just wait till the siphon hose pulls some more water out, and it'll gurgle up some more, and we'll lose more. All right, that was fun. That was interesting. I'm glad I saw that because that worked out pretty much exactly like I was expecting it to. All right, back to the viewing. Let me throw the algae wafers in there because we never did do that. Whenever this big pleco, there goes a bunch more, and it only went down another third and then stopped again. Whenever this big pleco is sitting down here, you can see him. He's right under the edge of this log. I can see his little face down there, and it looks like he's got like these white spots on his head. It's almost kind of concerning for a moment, and then I realized it's just lying under the edge of that piece of wood, and there's a bunch of little holes in it, and it's just light shining through the holes and giving him these bright spots, and it makes it look like he's got these little white patches on his face. But he just moved, and they disappear immediately, and his face just looks dark again. All right, let me see. Gamer, how are you doing this evening? I'm a little bit high. It's not the high that's getting me. It's the mushrooms, because not only did I eat more mushrooms tonight than I normally do. Oh, there goes the last bit of it. Nope. The less that's in there, the less it falls because the less weight is pushing down on it. So we got a third, then we got almost another third, and then about half of what was left just went out, and now there's about 2 inches left in the bottom, so it still didn't fully evacuate. So we'll just let the water level get down to that low. Actually, we'll let the water level get down low enough so that it's at the level of where I've got the hooks hanging. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, those hooks might be a bit deep into the water. We're going to have that tank about an inch down into the water. I guess I could always curl the hooks around a little tighter and make it a little shallower than that. I don't know. We'll find out. It might not look bad sticking up, an inch shorter. Anyway, not only did I take more mushrooms than I usually do tonight, but they're just rolling on to me. And that initial onset phase is always a little more intense than the rest of it once you get used to it for a few minutes. So I'm still in that they're coming on to me phase. All right, we already are looking at a almost complete coverage of duckweed, and I swear it was just about a week ago I was in there cleaning this out. I guess we got a ways to go now that I'm looking at it, but it's getting pretty close to being full coverage of duckweed again. It's amazing how fast that stuff reproduces. All right, the tower is officially empty. Oh, I'm doing pretty well, gamer. I've got this weird shit growing in this tank. I think it's Suswassertang, or however you pronounce that. But it almost looks like moss, but it's like stringy and hairy. It's really strange looking stuff. And I don't know what this is actually, because I've got the Suswassertang in here, and that's more of this sort of, let me set this little hairy mat down. This stuff almost feels like it would be something that you would make like a kitchen sponge out of. It's like, feels like plastic. It's really strange, sort of fuzzy looking. I have no idea what this is. I can only assume that's some kind of algae or something. But then I've got this other stuff back here that you can see growing out between the fern, and it's this real crinkly little compact dark green plant. That's the Suswassertang or whatever and I bought it years and years ago, like way early on when I first set this tank up, and just forgot about it. I thought it had died off years ago, but some of it must have been living in the wood, because eventually it started growing again in a different place than I had originally planted it. It just sort of started sprouting out of that wood. And so I've got that in there, but that looks completely different than whatever this fucking weird fuzzy looking stuff is. I'm going to throw it away, but I'm probably going to read the comments and somebody's going to tell me like, oh my God, that's fucking Amazonian fucking goldweed. That's worth $20 a fucking ounce if you've got it. But it's in the trash now. Edward, how are you? Eugene, hello. No, well, it might be considered a hair algae because there's a lot of types of hair algae. I was going to call it a filamentous algae, which is what hair algae is. But I'm honestly not even sure. It doesn't feel like a filamentous algae. It doesn't have that same feeling. It's not like individual strands of hair. It's all like woven together. It feels more like steel wool than it does what I think of as hair algae. And again, I think hair algae is a sort of an umbrella term for all of that filamentous algae. Mostly what we get in our tanks is Spirogyra. At least that's what I think is in mine. They call it maiden's hair or maiden's tresses. So I don't know what this stuff is. It could be a kind of hair algae. In fact, that's what I'm going to assume it is until I find out otherwise. All right, let's move on to the next tank. This is the one we actually got to get out of the way because the camera is going to be sitting right where I need to be working when we get to installing the tower. All right, we saw the bubbles, so I can go ahead and turn this light off now. I just wanted everybody to see that seal get broken again. I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't really know exactly what was going to happen. I had my suspicions based on my understandings of physics and whatnot, but I was still waiting to see if I was right. Oh, and I never finished my follow-up thought when I was talking about the way Ark was suggesting that I could lift the tank up, already full of water and just put it into position rather than use a hose and suck the air out of it. And he was saying that because the fish tower that he has a guppy tank, and he's got like a mason jar in there as his fish tower, and it looks awesome. It's perfect scale with the guppies in there and the smaller tank and everything. It looks amazing. But lifting a mason jar full of water and putting it in position is a lot different than this big tower I built. So actually, I can start dismantling it and getting it out of there now that I'll show you the thing we had it sitting on. You don't need to see the plastic container. I can put that in the other room, but I'll show you the trash can I had it sitting on. Oh yeah, those mushrooms are definitely rolling on. Whenever I change environment, I walk out of one room into another. That's when it like really hits you a lot more in the face of like, hey, look at what's going on in here. This is different. This isn't like the other room at all. Steve. Yeah, I wondered if anybody knew the band Spyrogyra. I almost mentioned it, but then I decided not to. I had a phase when I was younger where I listened to Spyrogyra a lot, but I'm not a big jazz guy, and so it didn't really stick for me because they're not only are they jazz, but they're like progressive jazz. They're the worst kind of jazz. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Spyrogyra. And Steve sort of inspired my music tonight, even though he doesn't realize he inspired my music tonight. Well, once we get done feeding, Steve, we're going to install the fish tank you gave me. So, you got maybe another half an hour or so, and then we're going to be installing that tower. On and get back here. And the way Steve inspired me for my music tonight was we were talking about classical music the other night, and he'd sent me some, people shredding on guitars to classical pieces and whatnot. And it's just had me in the mood for some classical music. And so I decided to listen to the best opera ever. And while I wasn't listening to the full opera, I was kind of skimming through to my favorite parts. I was listening to my favorite. So it's not going to be much of a musical guess. Yeah, I never really thought about Steve actually being here for the install. I didn't know when I was going to be doing it, and so he wouldn't have been able to be here unless he more or less came for every live stream. And considering that was before I took my hiatus, that was a few weeks ago that he actually dropped that tank off. Tonight was honestly a spur of the moment thing. About 4 o'clock, I was sitting around bored. Again, I've been, I've got mushrooms now. And so my depression is lifted, and instead of just sitting in my basement all day, I wanted to do something. And so around 4 o'clock, I started tinkering around with ideas of how to get that tank set up. And so I literally at 4 o'clock this afternoon started thinking about how to do this pond thing. The leg that I'm going to use for it is made out of PVC pipe, and I thought I had some thick black PVC pipe, and I cannot find it anywhere. And so I'm using a 3/4 inch piece of white PVC pipe, which looks like garbage in a fish tank. And so I went to spray paint it with some black, primer, just to make it less visible. And of course, I don't have any black primer, but I did have some glow the foot gloss purple. It'll still be less visible once it goes underwater. It'll just seem a lot darker. You won't really notice it. And then within a week of being in there, it's going to be covered in green darkness anyway, and so it'll be fine. I just don't want a white piece of PVC pipe sticking down in the tank. But again, I started all that this afternoon. In fact, the PVC pipe is sitting in front of my space heater in the other room drying, because when I brought it in right before I went live, you can see the paint wasn't even dry on it yet. So I didn't want to be sticking wet paint in the tank. So that's how slapdash this is. So I can't imagine Steve actually making it here for that. Steve is inspirational. It's got to be the hair. Zini is my muse, and he has a head full of the stuff. And while muse is just another term for inspiration, I think it sits at a slightly higher level. So Zini is my muse, and Steve is merely my inspiration. Even though I know you can get pedantic about it. Thank you, Laura. I am too. Even for this time of year, I'm actually, I wasn't like antsy, like agitated kind of antsy, but I didn't feel like spending another fucking day just sitting in my basement. Like, it was too chilly and snow off and on throughout the day. Like, I'm not going to go outside and do anything. But I did run up to the store and I got a few things. I shot some video chatting with Zini earlier. I've been tinkering around the basement. I got all my mushrooms harvested and dried out today. I got some weed stuff that I needed to do taken care of. I trimmed up my Hawaiian puff that I've been putting off for a while. Hopefully we can catch this. I was going to go show you, but I just noticed my big pleco's out. Well, I just walked up on him and scared him, but you got a little bit of a look at him swimming around doing his thing. He's a really cool fish. So I got my Hawaiian puff all trimmed up today. And so this is what we got hanging up here for that. And it's nice big chunky buds. That chunk right there, that's the cola. That was the very tippy top of the plant. And then these are actually the bottom working their way up. So these are the branches that were right next to the top. In fact, that is most of the top. I just cut that section out. And that's the piece you saw hanging at the other end, that very tippy piece that should be sitting right in there. So once you cut all the leaves and fluff out of it, the buds left inside are fucking huge. And you can see how much, I mean, I trimmed that much trim off of it. There was already some in this container, but not much. That's mostly just from the Hawaiian puff. You see how purple and red and yellow it is? It's fucking gorgeous. Hawaiian puff is just the best weed ever. And I'll bring in my mushrooms. I'll show you how many mushrooms I got today. That's my mushroom haul. Lots and lots of little ones, but that's it. So I've already eaten 3.5 grams, and that right there is 36.5 more. So I got 39 grams mushrooms out of my first flush. So that's going to be our leg. Well, it's actually going to be like that. I want that on the bottom so it puts as little pressure on the plastic liner on the bottom as possible. And then I cut a little notch in it at the top, and the glass theoretically should just sit down into that notch, and that should be, the leg that just holds the outside edge up. So we'll see. I got to let that cool down because it feels like it's about 150 degrees right now. All right, let's move on and get another tank fed while we're still draining some water. I figure we may as well do some water changeness on the goldfish tank. As slow as it is to drain, I can do that all night and it still won't be a full water change. So we'll just let it keep going until I'm done tinkering, and then we'll fill it back up afterwards. All right, this tank's looking pretty good after getting in there on Friday and doing some work. That discus in there just looks absolutely amazing. It just keeps getting more amazing the bigger it gets. All right, let me get caught up on some comments here. Oh, I'm way ready for spring, Laura. We didn't get snow today, but it was like bright and sunny, and then all these dark clouds would come over, and there'd be like I'll call it a squall, but it wasn't, we'd get like serious snow, like a snow shower for 5 minutes, and then it would pass, and the sun would come back out, and like it was like that all day today. It was weird. I'd get these I'd come downstairs, and it would be bright and sunny outside with a clear blue sky, and I'd get a notification on my phone 10 minutes later saying snow is going to end soon. I'm like, fucking, what snow? And I even said something to my wife, and she's like, oh, yeah, it was snowing about half an hour ago, but it stopped. Like, all right. So apparently I did spend too much time down the basement today. Robert, how are you? You got American and African cichlids together. I wouldn't think temperamentally there would be an issue putting the Africans and the South Americans together. If somebody wanted to take this conversation out of context, I could get myself in a lot of trouble. But I can't imagine the temperamentally being an issue. I would always think it would be problematic to keep African cichlids with South American cichlids simply because of water parameters. But if you could find that sort of middle of the ground, some African cichlids that didn't mind the softer, more neutral water, and maybe some South Americans that didn't mind slightly harder water, maybe a little above neutral, find that middle ground. I can't imagine why cichlids wouldn't just be cichlids once you put them in a tank together. Hey, Mike. Oh, let me see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Looks like 9 black skirt tetras in there. Maybe if I'm not seeing one, maybe 10 if I'm missing one somewhere, but it looks like 9 of them. It's got a little look at the red tail loach popping out and saying hello for a minute. Cornish, how are you? I guess it would depend on the fish you're talking about specifically, because when people say African cichlids, that lumps in a lot of fish. There's a lot of fish out there that are African cichlids, and you've got some that are really aggressive versus some that might still be considered aggressive because they are cichlids, but not as aggressive. I'd be interested to see what putting an American sunfish in with an African cichlid would do, because the sunfish to me is surprisingly aggressive fish. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would just depend. It's same thing with the South American cichlids. There's just so many different South American cichlids. Obviously, if you put in an angelfish with an eye biter, and things are probably not going to work out well for the angelfish. It depends on the South American cichlid, and it depends on the African cichlid for the behavior, I would think. Yeah, yellow labs are really low on the aggression scale, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Mbunas, or however you pronounce that, Mbunas are definitely higher up on the aggression scale. So again, if you mix them with something like an angelfish or a discus, which are South American cichlids, they would get utterly fucking destroyed. But put it with a pike cichlid, now, or a jaguar, and see what happens. So a jaguar cichlid's a vicious motherfucker. I'm pretty sure the jaguars are South American, aren't they? I know the pike cichlids are because I looked at them. I seriously wanted one. That's my sort of canned answer when people ask me, "Oh, what's a dream fish you could have if you could have anyone you wanted?" I once saw red pike cichlid, like the full size ones that get like 16 or 18 inches long. It was almost like crimson red with these black stripes in its fin. It was just the most stunning looking fish ever. Its face was awesome because it's got that real long, stretched out face with a big flat mouth on it. I fell in love with that fish, and I would just someday I'm going to have that fish. tank, and it's got to be kept in a species only, or kept with other very large aggressive cichlids. And, it's never going to be the right fish for me. But when people ask, that's my canned answer of go-to fish. So I know that the pike cichlids are South American, and I'm pretty sure the jaguars are too. I have honestly never really wanted an Oscar, except for real early on when I was like just beginning to keep fish, and I literally didn't know the difference between a tetra and an Oscar. They were just fish names to me. But I would sit upstairs in the office, and I would go to the Petco or the PetSmart website, and I would just scroll through all their fish, and I'd start by looking at the pictures and seeing how cool they were, and anything I liked, I would then go and look at its size and its tank parameters and, all that kind of stuff. And so whenever I saw that Oscar on there, or a Tiger Oscar or something, I was just like, oh man, that is just so awesome. But then I looked at it, and, it was, again, never a fish that was really going to suit any of my tanks. And then after that sort of initial period, I just kind of never really maintained my love for wanting an Oscar. I think they're cool fish. But I don't know. I've never had this real desire to have an Oscar. I also used to say that a lot about betta fish, and now I love the betta fish. So who knows? Maybe if I got an Oscar, I'd be an Oscar believer after that. All right, let's move on. We're going to skip the 40. I'm starting to have concerns about this tank. I legitimately wondered whether both discus were even still in there, and I had to look around, and I did find them both, and they're still in there. But they spend all their time just like tucked half sideways, laying underneath the rocks, and they're hiding. They're not just chilling in the rocks, they're hiding. And so something's stressing them out. It could be as simple as this is, that's the tank that I got my computer sitting on. That's where I stand in front of it. I set things down. All the fish food gets kept on top of it. I really genuinely, legitimately do my best to like pick things up as gently as possible. I try to set things down without a thump or a bump. But reality is, I am still, I use their tank as a shelf. And so they're probably freaked out by that more than they are the minnows or anything that might be in the tank bothering them. Congo tetras are awesome. Yeah, an Oscar probably would suit me. The two that were in this tank were bullying the one that is now in the 55. So the one that was being bullied got separated and is doing amazing. And the two that were doing the bullying are still in the same tank they started in. And I mean, they look okay. They're not, dark in color or emaciated or anything like that. They come out at feeding time. I'm not worried about them. I don't have to like do something immediately because they're, in danger or in harm's way. But they're clearly not chilled in a nice, relaxed environment. They're living in more stress than they need to be, and that's pretty apparent by their behavior. $6 each. That's a damn good price for the Congos. Congos can be up to like $15 each at a store. All right, everybody. I think I'm about as mushroomed as I'm going to mushroom. And I wanted to make sure I knew how mushroomed I was going to be before I started working on that tank. That's why we did the feedings first. So we're just about ready to get started on the work. Fish tower. That'll be within the next few minutes. We do have one last tank to get fed. And I do have joint left to smoke. Well, they might work out now together as a group, but why would I want to put the one flourishing discus back in the tank that's a smaller tank where the other two discus that are already in there, A, used to bully it, and B, are not themselves flourishing. I just think the discus, I was actually considering today taking the two discus out of that tank and adding them to the 55 and seeing if I could get all three of them to get along in the 55. But that 55 is really a crowded tank. That's probably my most heavily stocked tank when you look at, stocking density per gallon of water. The only possibility would be maybe my other 125 is a really, really heavily stocked tank too. All right, let's get the discus fed, and then we'll get working on that project. Put my bivalves in a new container today, and I keep not finding it because I'm looking for what I'm used to picking up. I used to have it in a smaller container, but I couldn't reach into it with my hands, so I put it in that big container. I can actually just reach down in and pull stuff out, pinch at a time. I keep looking for the little container. Yeah, I got you, Zini. It definitely makes more sense to put the other two. I actually considered that today. I was thinking about that. I'm still thinking about putting them in the other 125, but I just, again, it may sound silly to some of you, but the real concern about putting them in the other 125 is not that they'd get bullied or harassed. I just think they'd fuck up the vibe. I just don't think they got the right color to go with the vibe I've got going on in that tank and the color scheme and everything. They would just throw completely out of whack. They might be able to do okay in my other 55, but I've already got that other blue discus in there, and I'm not sure how A, they would get along with the blue discus, and B, I think they would clash with the blue discus. And again, I don't want that color discordance in the tank. Oh, there you go, Robert. Make good use of those excess plants. All right, everybody, let's do this thing. Let's do it. I got to say, these joints smoke way, way better now that I'm not packing them like I'm trying to pack as much weed as I can possibly get into them. I'm just packing them firmly, but not like I'm, storing weed for the winter in there. They do have a little bit of blue in their fins, and orange and blue don't necessarily clash, in the traditional sense of colors clashing with each other. I just don't think it would look right in that tank. I don't know, maybe it might. I'd have to see them in there before I could really get an eye for it. I'm not good at just imagining what they would look like in there. All right, so that gap in the middle there is where we're installing it. And let us hope this all works out as easily as I'm expecting it to. This should be a very quick install. Should be able to just hang this side there and then prop this side up like so. There you go, everybody. We have a new fish tower. I told you that wouldn't take long. Now, obviously, we still have to fill it back up and get the water in it and everything. So we'll do that in a second. We'll reverse the water flow and get the tank refilling. But this is what I had the other one propped on, and you can see those two narrow legs, how crinkled and bent they are. I'm surprised this whole thing didn't just fucking collapse under the weight. But look how much algae and shit's growing on that already. All right, let me go reverse the water flow, and we'll get that filled back up. Sorry if that was a huge letdown for everybody. I knew it wasn't going to be all that, but I didn't expect it to be that lickety split. So let's get the water filled back up. At least I can do is show you with it, how easy we're going to put the water in there. So obviously we can't do anything until the water level is at the bottom of the tank. Shit, I could have done that while you guys were watching somebody get fed, and you wouldn't even have noticed I'd finished it already. All right, but in celebration, I'm going to do a quick bong hit. We'll blow some smoke on the water, and then we'll get to hanging out and chatting for a bit. God, I brought a whole mug of coffee down here. It's kind of late for coffee, but I'm going to have some anyway. Delicious. All right, let me get caught up on some comments while we're waiting for the water to fill back up. In fact, let me turn you around here so you can actually look at. I got you stuck in my stool. Hang on. Well, that didn't sound right. There you go. You can look at a pretty fish tank instead of my pond filling back up. Bob, how are you this evening? No, that's not the tank with the silver dollars. I like rice paper papers, but I usually use hemp and natural fiber papers. Yeah, they might look okay in with the other discus. I hadn't really considered that. Yeah, that is worth considering. I don't know why I'd never considered that, but I never thought about it. I always just figured that's my discus tank and that's what that looks like, and never thought about adding to it. So that's an option. That's something to think about. I was talking about my other 125. Oh yeah, there's definitely space. I could put 2 small discus in that tank without affecting the bio load pretty much at all. Well, it would definitely reshuffle the pecking order, and it would cause some disruption to everybody. And excuse me, that's another reason. I was reluctant to even pull the bully. Got the wrong one, and the bullied one is still in there, and the blue one that's in the 55 across the way is a different fish altogether. But regardless, that's not a bad idea. I will give that consideration. And Dade, I did see your question. I'm sorry I didn't answer it. You can see right there, that's one of my nearite snails up against the glass. And I honestly don't remember putting nearite snails in this tank. I mean, I know I did. I don't remember when. It's been years since I put nearite snails in that tank. I've also got huge nearite snails in my pond here. I haven't put any in there in many years. And likewise, you can see I've got a big fat nearite snail right there. I know there's a few in this tank. And also, I have not put snails in any of these tanks in, I don't know, pre-pandemic, the teens. So apparently nearite snails can live quite a long time, unless these are the offspring of the original snails I put in there or something. I suppose that's a possibility. All right, we're getting close to the water line on the tank, but it looks like I've still got a solid inch of room before the pond will be filled. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that tower is actually under the water. And that purple is a little more bright purpley standoutish than I was expecting it to be. But like I said, I didn't have any black paint, so I had to, it was either that or white. Well, I'm definitely not adding 3 of them in there. I'm going to leave the orange one in the 55 where it is. So if I put any of them in there, it'll just be the 2 out of this 40. I can catch the minnow that's in there and throw it in the pond, and I can put the 2 discus in that tank, possibly, if that's what I decide. And then after that, I'll have that, my 40. Okay. Yeah, all I did was touch that with I bumped into it with my finger, and it fell. So that was not stable at all. I saw a piece of vegetation in the pond floating. It looked like it was going to go underneath of it, and as the water filled up, I was expecting it to get trapped in it. And so I was reaching down to get it out of there, and I swear my thumb touched the edge of the tank, and it fell off of my little hooks and fell into the pond. Oh yeah, I can see why. I definitely need to make that hook a little hookier. All right, everybody, back to the drawing board. Well, not to the drawing board, but back to the room where I have my vise. So this that little lip was, I mean, the glass was barely sitting on the edge of it, and I touched it and it just fell off. So I need to curl those around a little more. Not to mention, it's I don't want the tank an inch below the water surface, so we're gonna see what we can do about that. And I got to remember, I got the tank filling while we're doing this. All right. Well, that's not going to make it a lot shallower. Not like I curled it around by another 1/4 inch or anything, but I definitely put enough of a curl on there that the tank will be sitting firmly in the lip rather than just on the edge of sort of the little flat bar that I had before. So I think this will make it more stable. And we'll try to put it down near the corners so it spreads the weight out along the whole side. All right, I'll get the little foot back in place. All right, perfect. That's stable. I can push and tug on it a little bit and it doesn't go anywhere. And we have achieved water seal. We're right at the line at this point. So I don't know whether I should slide it this way and put it kind of more under the plants, or should I slide it the other way and put it closer to the pond, or is it right where it should be, far enough out that you can see it, but not, up against the pond? I think that's kind of the sweet spot right there. It's not hidden by the plants, although kind of tucking it up under the plants might make it a neat little thing to discover, although nobody comes in here to discover it. So I probably ought to keep it prominent so that it can be seen on video, since that's how people are going to see it. So I think that's the sweet spot right there. What do you guys think? Oh, that's a possible too. Neil, I didn't even think about the tank actually floating a little bit as it got as the water level came up. I should probably keep an eye on that. That's probably exactly why it fell off so easily. It didn't have any weight holding it down. In fact, it had actual buoyancy lifting it up. That makes a lot of sense. I experimented with neorites and brackish water, and I never got them to breed. Hey, Edward, no, I don't use any foods, ferts, CO2, or anything. Phil's fan, how are you this evening? Yeah, I've got that 5-gallon tank, but it's a shrimp tank now. It actually looks beautiful. No, I got the flamethrower in the other part of the basement. I keep meaning to do a video of the flamethrower outside at night. I guess we could do that tonight. That would be cool. Go outside and hook the flamethrower up. I can get the, well, I know I can get the audio to work out there. I don't think I can get the camera to go out there. Maybe I'll shoot you a video later, Zini, of what the flamethrower looks like at night. I've never seen it at night, so I don't know how awesome it would be. Yeah, another PVC stand might be a good idea. Yeah, now that it's above the edge, I should definitely get that air out of there. I'm trying to do a live stream here, people. I can't do everything at once. I got cameras to manage and comments to read. All right, somebody can stop sign me. Yes, I have a flamethrower, but it's not what you think. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the hose that's on the floor right next to the tank because I have it in place for when I need it. That makes perfect sense. It's got a bunch of water in it too. That sucks. Wasn't expecting that. The water probably came from doing that. Let me put my thumb over it. God, I'm having a hell of a time tonight with basic physics, aren't I? I'm going to blame it on the mushrooms. I got to be careful. If I pull too much in, it'll break the seal at the bottom, but I think it's deep enough that I can actually get all this out of there. Sweet, I got everything out of it except one tiny little bubble up in the corner. So the other one, when I did the tower, there was about a 1/4 inch of air at the top of it. This one, I got it all out except for one tiny little bubble up in the corner, and you won't even notice that. So the fish will literally be able to graze off of the algae that grows on the top of the glass. Dry my arm off here. Are the fish up inside it already? Damn, that didn't take long, did it? All right, it looks so weird. I'm trying to gauge whether the tank is filled or not, and I immediately turned around to look at the fish tower that's not there anymore, and I had to do a double take. Because where the hell did the fish tower go? It was there this morning. All right, we're getting about to where I'd almost call that about full. So that looks about right. We're about maybe 1/2 inch under the surface, 3/4 of an inch. That looks fine. That actually gives me some room to let water evaporate. I don't have to constantly be in here topping the tank off to prevent the seal from breaking. Oh, look, there's a minnow swimming up inside of it now. Oh, that's a guppy, not a minnow. I don't know if you can see that from here. The water's really cloudy. As the water clears up, that'll look a lot more amazing. All right, let me go turn the hose off. I think we're done. Lights out. I was gonna say I can sit down and chill out now, but I don't really feel like I'm I'm in a sitting down, chilling out frame of mind. We'll see what happens. So there you go, everybody. Again, when the water clears up, it'll look a hell of a lot better than that. But it's just, it looks like it was, again, thank you so much, Steve. That is just absolutely the perfect size. It's just tucked in there neatly, doesn't fuck up the vibe, like that tower sticking up out of the middle of it. It was cool watching the fish swim around in it, but it just wrecked the overall look of what the pond looked like. This almost looks like it was designed to have that built in there. You barely notice it, but it's going to be an awesome display, you know, showcase for when the fish are swimming up in there. I got a short video yesterday of the big butterfly koi swimming around in the tower. I might post it as a YouTube short. I don't know. I don't really care that much to actually give a shit about it. My last video that I posted about getting new fish got like 200 views or something. So I might post it because it was kind of cool looking. But at the same time, the tower was so algae covered and green. It's not, I'm probably going to get more people when they, you know, telling me I'm a terrible fish keeper than saying that was a cool video. So I probably won't bother to post it now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, the algae in there really kind of wrecked the view of that koi swimming around in it. Of course, speaking of which, they're all up in this corner because the water level's up now, so they can get to the algae that's growing on the edge that they can't normally get to. In a little while, we'll hear them down here doing their thing where they try to swim up the waterfall and eat the algae off the rocks. Look at all them bastards in there. It's like a koi pond. I'm going to say it again. This is so much fucking better than that waterfall I used to have in here. I loved my waterfall. It was awesome. But how cool is that? Just watching koi swimming around, goldfish and whatnot. And then in addition to that, I got all that with the waterfall. And I've now got a fish tower in here. And it doesn't mold and leak and stink and, you know, get my basement all wet and funky. This is about 1,000% improvement over that waterfall. I wonder if we put some food up inside the tower, if we could coerce them into going up there. Most animals will do shit for food. Let's see what happens. I can't lower you anymore to get you down at a bird's eye, you know, or an eye level. That would be the opposite of a bird's eye level, bird's eye view. But I can't get you down at a, you know, horizontal level view. But I can put you right there. So let me try putting a little of their food over here so they can taste it. And it's nice to just take a pinch of fish food and then put it underwater and let go of it. And while it's dry, it floats up to the top real quick. And then it'll sort of sink back down through the tower. And that should entice them to going up in there, going after the food. And I am going to spark the joint back up. Man, that 1.5 grams of mushrooms is definitely more than I ate last night. This is groovy. I'm thinking that even the big koi will regularly go up in there. I mean, I know they will. They regularly went up in the tower. They didn't at first, but after a while, I had, you know, the koi. There was once I had all 4 koi up inside that little tower at the same time. I think that was when Steve was here. Well, the goldfish certainly don't mind going up in it. All right, let me get caught up on some comments since I'm just standing here now. All right, back to my flamethrower. Cecil, how are you doing this evening? Oh, you're not kidding, Steve. That looks so much better than that round plastic thing in there. That round plastic thing, honestly, from day one was only meant to be for that night. You know, I wanted to do it just for proof of concept and to see what it looked like. But I liked it so much when I installed it that I just left it installed until I could come up with something better. And obviously, we got there. Yeah, I agree, Steve. I meant to say that while I was talking about how perfect that is the 10-gallon I was thinking of, because I have a 10-gallon, I had a 20 long, and then I got an empty 40 breeder. And when I measured the 40 breeder, or, you know, I measured out the space in the pond for the 40 breeder, I just laughed because it pretty much filled the open space where the water is, you know, and so I thought, yeah, even the 20 is going to be ridiculous. So I went right down to the 10. And I measured out for a 10-gallon tank in there, and it would have worked, but it would have really been awkward. It would have looked out of place. It would have looked a little too big, like when you buy shoes that you expect your, you know, kid to grow into, and so they're a little clownish looking at first, but he eventually does grow into them. My pond would never have grown into this 10-gallon tank. It always would have looked a little clownishly, you know, oversized. And that 6-gallon is just a fucking sweet spot. It's absolutely perfect. New road bad. Oh, let's see. Yeah, it was surprising to see all of those koi in that tower at the same time. They were like sardining themselves in there. Yeah, they did look massive too. Steve, 34 months. Good grief. Cecil, 13 months. Zany, 13 months. All right, everybody, start throwing your clout around. You want to be able to throw your little green tab up there, then you better sign up for membership. Non-green tab people. All right, what did I do here? That's what I did. Let's do that. And now you're back. Me and Steve were talking about the water pressure inside there, and I think that if they were all the way at the top of the pond, you know, or the top of the tower up against the glass at the bottom, I think they would be experiencing the same amount of pressure as if we just inverted that and they were just at the bottom of a 6-gallon tank. I think that that's how much water pressure they would feel. The way water pressure works is weird. It's not the way a lot of people might think. If you had a 1 inch, you know, 1 square inch pipe with a foot of water in it, it would exert, you know, X amount of pressure at that 1 square foot. But if you had an entire swimming pool that was a foot deep and it was all funneled into that 1 square inch, the water pressure would be exactly the same. It's the 1 inch of it, you know, it's the depth of the water above it. The 1 square inch is not going to change unless the depth of the water changes. It's not the volume of the water spreading out and funneling down like that. That doesn't affect the pressure. So, you know, plumbing is different because that's pressurized pipes where we're pushing water around and things like that. But natural water pressure is weird. And so I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming that in the same way that if you were, we're really getting into a physics conversation now. If you were at the bottom of this pond, the pressure you're feeling is the weight of the atmosphere along with the weight of the water pushing in around you at the same time. So the deeper you go, the more water there is, you know, you're getting more water pressure. But in this case, the reason water is in that tower is because the atmospheric pressure pushing down on the surface of the pond has pushed the water up into that tower. Once I removed the air and gave the water a place to go, that atmospheric pressure pushed that up in there. And so, as far as I can tell, if you were at the top of this, that would be the exact same as if you were, 10 inches underwater, because it's going to be the amount of water that's around the fish plus the weight of the atmosphere pushing down on the surface. And those two things combined are going to give the fish the exact same water pressure that they would feel as if it was a depth rather than a height. That's my reasoning anyway. I don't know if somebody out there knows fluid dynamics or is a physicist knows more about this stuff than I do, but that's the way I sort of sussed it out. Bob, 20 months. Hey, Ians, how are you doing this evening? So it's a negative pressure. I guess the water is trying to fall because of gravity, but it simply can't because there's a vacuum preventing it. You know, there's nothing allowing it to fall. So would that be a negative water pressure on it? I mean, you're saying that as this, you know this for a fact, so I'm assuming it's true. That's interesting, though. I didn't think you could be submerged in water and still experiencing a negative pressure being exerted on you. All right, I think that's enough of the looking at the tower. Unless you guys want to keep looking at it, you can throw your vote out. I'm either going to sit down in front of the camera or you can keep looking at the fish tower. That's your choice. Let me know. I'm going to finish my joint in the meantime. In fact, I'm going to go in and get another one because this one's pretty much finished. It's one thing I'll say for the mushrooms. I can chow through some weed while I'm on them. I don't necessarily, but I can. Oh, damn it. Did it save it? Oh, okay. This one's going to be a delicate smoker. It's not packed real tight around the base where the paper filter is, and it slipped out of my hand. I almost dropped it. When I grabbed at it, it bent really hard, and it felt like I just broke the paper, broke the filter off. But because it's so soft right there, it actually, I got a solid bend in it, and the paper didn't break. So I didn't, still dialing in my how tightly I pack them. The whole thing feels really firm. It's just that right there at the base, I didn't really pack it in at the bottom. It's kind of sloppy and loose. Oh well. In 5 minutes, it ain't going to exist anymore, so it won't really matter. That's just nicotine. All right, let me get my stuff. All right, so we're going with option II. Oh, that's not a bad idea, Neil. I could try doing that. See what that's like. That'll be a weird one. I can't sit right behind it until I move the filter for the 55 out of the way. Put it back under the 55 where it belongs. Move some Potter's plant out of the way. Because this just lives on my floor, as you know. Well, actually, this one's not really living on my floor very much, is it? That whole end is just trails off into nothing. So I can cut that off right now and just get it out of here. I'll cut it off where it's still nice and green. And it will simultaneously also be out of my way. All right, in the trash with that. Of course, I'm going to have to move my ashtray and all my stuff around there. I can set it on this bucket here. That'll work, dear Liza. Move that bucket over. That's a full 5-gallon bucket, by the way. That's not just me grunting at an empty bucket. All right, let's see what your camera angle looks like. So once I'm sitting down over there, I'm not going to be able to move it. Let's see how that looks. Who knows? We might have started a new thing for the live cast. This feels really fucking weird, though. Oh, you gotta be angled up higher. I can use the top of the tank here to put my tablet. And the tank prevents you from staring straight at my crotch. So it works out for everybody. You can even see some of the tanks behind me. All right, let's see if that's a little better. Are you still staring right at my crotch? I don't know, maybe. If you are, you can enjoy the show. No charge on this one. All right, let's see. Just don't lean on it, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even think about doing this as a teaser video for OnlyFans. That's awesome. I can't really see my monitor very well, and the fucking glare from this light on me is absolutely killing me. Let's see if it wouldn't be less horrible in my face if we use the, watch out for the corner of that pond. I just put it there. Let's turn that one off, and then we'll turn the spotlight on. And that might actually be less horrible in my face, or it might be a lot worse. I don't know. That's pretty bad, but that feels like camera light in my face bad. I'm used to that kind of light in my eyes. There's LEDs right above me. Again, I cannot convey because the camera adjusts for the intensity, but I just cannot convey to you how fucking bright that LED right there is. When those things are on and they're shining in your eyeballs, it's like looking at the sun. So how's that? At least I got something to do tonight while I'm shrooming. All right, that kind of works. That light is fucking hideous in my face, but I can tolerate it. I can deal with that. And I get to look at the discus tank the whole time. Wow, this is really fucking weird. This is such a. I don't think I've ever just sat here and looked around my fish room, let alone done it on a live stream or whatever. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting view. All right, this is going to be a good live stream from here on out. I picked a good night to do this. Is it really? Or are you just saying that? I can't see. I'm telling you, I just got glare in my face. I can barely see the camera. All right, maybe this isn't going to work out. If that's what you guys are telling me. Got all this and I haven't gotten a single tip yet? Jesus. You'd think the free show would have been worth something. Most people got to pay for stuff like that. All right, that was fun, but I don't think it's going to work. It's not the right angle. It's not comfortable to sit there. The only thing I can really think about, the camera's as low as it'll go right now. I can't get it at any better angle. And as we've discussed, it's a clear tank you're looking through. Once the pond is actually clear, I mean, I guess I could put pants on, but you'd still be looking straight at my crotch the whole time. So I don't think that's going to be a good idea. But it was a lot of fun. At least I had a lot of fun. You guys are probably horrified and you're going to have nightmares now, but I had a good time. That's all that counts. Now I got to put everything back, damn it. All right. Well, you go back to your regular view. I'll resume you to your regularly scheduled programming. And let me go collect up on my shit and come back. Another failed experiment. But there's no such thing as a failed experiment. We learned something from that. And that's the important part. Let me bring my stool of death back. Get all my stuff. I guess that wasn't really that much stuff to get: an ashtray and a lighter and a vape pen. All right, we'll turn my proper light on this time so I'm not being blinded. And turn that one off. All right, now this feels like our regularly scheduled programming. Although I had 10 more people when I was showing you my junk. Now that I'm sitting down, I went from 29 people down to 21. I'll never figure it out. I just won't. Yeah, we definitely learned that nobody wants to look at my junk while I sit in front of the camera. This has got to be the greatest night of Zini's life. All right, everybody, I'm out of adventures. That's all I wanted to do tonight was get the tank set up. I was just going off somebody's suggestion to try sitting over there, but we could see that didn't work out. Holy crap, it's only 9:30. I feel like I've been down here for 4 hours already. All right, well, we got at least half an hour left, everybody. Yeah, you can all blame your nightmares on Neil. I thought it worked great too. I had a good time with that. That was fun. Just the experience of sitting over there and looking around from the different angle, that was blowing my mind. I wasn't even worried about how it looked on the live stream anymore. I was just thinking, this is fucking awesome. I got the coolest fish room ever. Um, that is a good idea, Steve. If I ever did like a, you and I did a live stream together or something, having us sit sort of facing each other, sort of facing, catty corner, kind of facing towards the camera on either side of that tower, that would actually be a pretty good camera setup. No balls involved. Yeah, my live streams have been getting boring as of late, so I thought I'd mix it up a little and give you a little excitement tonight, give you something different. I delivered. I tried to. What does the old saying go? Never promise more than you can deliver, and always deliver more than you promised. Success, the recipe for success there. I can't think of if there's anything else I actually want to do in here. I mean, we talked about working on the 40, but I don't think that's something that I want to approach at the moment. It's a little late in the night to start working on breaking a tank down and pulling fish out of it and whatnot. Especially since I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with them yet. I think they're probably going to wind up just going in the tank behind me. The more I look at them and the more I think about the orange discus in there, like you say, I've already got those bright orange, rainbow fish in there, and the blue discus have orange at the tips of their fins. And so color scheme in this tank probably won't be that off at all. So that's probably where they're going to go. Well, there you go, Cecil. as long as somebody's having a good time, right? Usually it's me, but I'm glad other people are too. That makes it even more fun. I'm definitely going to do something with the beard, I think. I've looked at a picture of myself today, and my fucking head looks round, and it's all just beard. It's like looking at a big fluffy cat. It looks like a huge cat, but when you shave it, it's actually the size of a squirrel. I'm starting to get that fat face look again, like I used to have just from having a fat face. And it's bothering me. Plus, my beard's getting bushy. I think it's time to trim that down a little. I'm just glad you found Gus as your companion there, Zena. You will always have Gus. Well, you'll always have the spirit of Gus, because we both know Gus is no longer with us. But as I told you yesterday, he died for a noble cause. Although technically he's already dead by the time you named him Gus. He was already dead and dried out. He was a mummy by the time you named him Gus. I didn't even think about that. It is technically a mummy, I guess. It's desiccated. It's completely dried out. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the next flush of mushrooms. The last time I did it, it was something similar. The first flush I got was just a shit ton of mushrooms. They were just growing on top of each other and pushing each other, for space. And I wound up getting a bunch of little ones. That's the batch I ruined by overheating them. But they were all really small. The second flush that came through was far fewer mushrooms, but they all got, caps on them that were 3 inches in diameter when they were still fresh. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen after this first one. It was interesting to watch the first flush. The reason, I don't know if you looked at the mushrooms I showed you earlier, you saw how many were like tiny, tiny little mushrooms. When it first started, fruiting, and you first started seeing the mushrooms coming out of it, they were growing off of
the mycelium that was growing on the side of the plastic bag. It wasn't even growing out of the medium in the middle. Like the little mushrooms were coming off the side of the bag and growing up. And you could see just like some white material that was kind of stuck to the plastic. And that's what the mushrooms were starting to grow out of. It was only days later that mushrooms actually started coming up out of the middle as well. And then if you, I don't know, I posted a video on the Discord. If you actually looked at it, they came almost from the bottom of the bag and grew up and around. So they were all packed in there. I had to kind of dig them out of the substrate and everything. The next flush should be more like just big mushrooms. I can just pick mushrooms, you know, it won't be like that weird. Actually, let's look at some of them. I'll show you exactly what I mean about how they grew in these weird packed together clusters. I've broken it up a lot just for drying purposes. The clumps were much larger. Well, you see how that's all just like one big mass that's all just grown together. You can see the individual stems in it, but it's just one big chunk of mushrooms. That's like a big cluster that grew out of one spot. You can see where I just broke it right off the side of the mycelium, and that whole chunk came off with it. But I've got a zillion of these little fuckers. I got a few decent. They didn't even break their. Oh, that looks wrong. Look at this side of it instead. They never broke their membrane, so the caps hadn't even started to open just yet. But all told, I got 39 grams dried. That one is just starting to open. You can see the skirt was just starting to tear and the cap was beginning to open on it. So this is Gus's entire family. I terminated Gus with extreme prejudice. His whole fucking family took one out with him. Fucking Gus, bastard. He knows what he did. He knows exactly what he did. All right, that was another fun little diversion. Look at all them mushrooms. Brownies. Exactly. Gus altering my mind is part of the reason I'm less depressed today than I was the day before yesterday. I'm telling you, the mushrooms really do have a good, positive, therapeutic effect on my depression. All right, what do we want to talk about now? Do I have anything to talk about? I can make faces at the camera. Oh, I can show you the memes I was making today. I can share them on, and I guess I will now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know why I hadn't done this yet. I can share the memes on the Discord memes page, but if you're not a member or whatever, if you don't want to look at them, you don't have to. But I'm going to show you the memes I've been making the last couple of days because I've been having fun with that too, and I made a lot of them while I was on mushrooms. In fact, the very first meme I made was a meme of Gus. I slapped it together just kind of as an experimental. It actually looks kind of silly when I'm looking at it now, but I did it just as an experimental to see if it would, download and I could, share it and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't spend a lot of time putting it together. But let me see. They're in my gallery, and I got so much shit in here. I got to find it. Where in the hell? Oh, you know what? I didn't save that one. I'm going to have to go to my Discord. Let's see. I think Zini just shared that with me not too long ago, so I'm going to find this. Bear with me. Nope. Come on, man. There it is. So that was the very first meme that I
made so far. That's Gus with a dancing Kermit and a poor little cat that's getting his head squashed by the mushroom falling on him. I made this for Zini this morning. That's my angry little old man. I'm saving some of the best ones for last. That's my cat Sassy considering something. Let's see. This is a good one. I made this one this afternoon. Let me see. Where's the other ones that I have that are awesome ones? I made this one so that I could say goodnight to my wife by text. I made that one for when I'm thinking about something. Now we're getting into the ones that I like better. I love this one. I fucking love this one too. That's about how I feel right now. I got mushrooms twerking on my brain. What was the other one? I think there's one more in there that I'm missing. Am I missing one? Oh, yeah, this one. This one's the fucking awesome. At least I thought so anyway. All right, that's all the memes I've made so far. And those are actual memes. If I put them on the, they're not just like video files that are mine. They're now memes. So once I post them in the meme section, if you guys think they're funny or you want to share them or whatever, you can just copy them and share them. Spread them around. Let's see if we can't get little Oldman famous, or possibly me looking in my tinfoil hat. That might be a good famous one. Oh, I'm on the wrong device here. I'm still looking at my phone, and I should be looking at my tablet. Sweet. I only lost 2 of you while I was showing you my home movies. All right. Yeah, when I showed that one, not the one of me, but the one of the cat with the thing going around, I showed that to my wife, and she's like, "It's still loading." I was like, "No," and she just started laughing. She's like, "Oh, is that what it's supposed to be?" I said, "Yeah." Through the fish tower, through the looking fish. Oh yeah, these are all GIFs I'm making out of my own photos. I'm not stealing shit off. Well, the Zini one I made with the flaming Elmo, that's pretty standard. Everybody uses that for different shit. But all the other stuff are actually my cats and me and all that sort of stuff. Fly guy. Oh, that's what the burning coal comment is. That's what that's called, burning coal. I'm honestly not that worried about it, but I'm just letting everybody know that that's not like my property at this point. If I post them in the meme section and you think they're funny, or you want to share them with your friends, feel free. They're just memes that are out there now.
Kendra, 48 months. Everybody's slapping up their green bars tonight. And if anybody would like to make their own memes, it's really easy. Just go to jiffy.com and set up a little account. You can either load still photos, and then, but if you do that, you'll have to like add effects or stickers or something over top of them, which I did for a lot of those. But that zoom in meme, that was actually, I did the video. It's like a 3-second video, and I did that on my editing through my camera, where it gave me a zoom in, like a crash zoom type feature. And so I sort of made that one and then kind of just uploaded it to Jiffy as a meme. But if you do upload a little 3-second clip or something, or half a second, it's a video clip, you can just upload it and bam, it's a meme. You don't have to add anything to it or do anything to it. If you add a still photo, you got to do something to it to make it a meme. But it's super easy. Again, even I can figure it out just by sitting there clicking on stuff, and then you just hit download. You can either download it or upload it, which it would go into the Jiffy, searchable database and everything. I didn't do that. I just downloaded it onto my own computer. But it is, again, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just public, domain at this point. I don't really give a fuck. Oh, let's see. Neil had a month once, your green bar. Oh, look at that. You do have the little mushroom there, Kendra. I was looking while I was in there. I put, the new mushroom emoji up there for Gus. But I don't have any badges after 4 years. So I always thought it went like 4 to 8 to 12. It was weird. I thought it jumped a bunch, but it doesn't. Apparently it just goes year by year now. So I do need to come up with like a year 5, year 6, etc. So yeah, we'll have to think of something for the new badges. Maybe Gus can be the badge for year 5. All right, Dade. I got hair. That's what you think is you're noticing different about me. I'm letting my hair grow in for the winter, and it's probably throwing you off. I was just talking a few minutes ago, though, about trimming my beard. It's getting bushy, and it's making my face look fat and round. So maybe you're noticing it looks like I'm putting on weight or something. It's just my beard. You know what I think I'm going to do just for fun? As thick and bushy as these are, you know what fucking amazing pork chop, just set of chops they would be. So I think I might actually lose the beard part and just turn it into like Ulysses S. Grant, fucking big ass pork chop style. I can grow this back fast enough. I do look funny without the chin hair. I don't know. It's just my chin's been covered with hair my whole life. And so when I see it, it just looks weird. It probably looks perfectly normal. I'm just not used to seeing it. But if I take off the chin there and just leave these fucking chops on the side, I think that would look amazing. So I think I'm going to do that just for the fuck of it. I'll leave it like that for a day or two. And then I'll get rid of it or whatever, but it'll be fun. Hamilton, how are you? So I always say you guys never know what you're going to get with me when you tune in. So one of these nights you might tune in for a live stream and see Ulysses S. Dan with my big fucking mutton chops on the side of my face. That would be awesome. I think I'm going to do that now. My face pubes. Eyeball, how are you doing? I was thinking about you the other day. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping the mustache. I don't know. Maybe I could do it in stages. Maybe I'll just lose the beard part. We'll just follow the fucking lines, the dark lines I have down my face. We'll just lose this section in here and see how it looks, all connected. And then if people give me money, I'll shave my mustache and everything off too, and we'll just do the chops only. But I really don't like not having a mustache. I've had a mustache since I could grow one at about 17. I've had a few periods here and there where it's gotten shaved off for one reason or another, but I want it right back immediately. I do not like not having a mustache. Even my wife laughs and giggles when she sees me without it. Yeah, I don't like not having a mustache. So you have to pay me for that one. But it would be an interesting look. Dye the chops purple. I tried last year dyeing it green for Christmas, and it really didn't work out. It was dark green while the dye was in, but once I washed it out, it just came out like you could barely tell it was green. It looked like I hadn't bathed, and it was just getting kind of mossy. Or a little bit of algae was starting to grow in my beard or something. It just didn't look right. But I tried to do it festive for Christmas last year. I thought it was fun, but it really didn't work out. So if I got a better color and did it bright, I could dye my beard some color. But the problem with that is I've still got a bottle of green hair dye. It cost me $20 that I used once just for the fuck of it. It didn't go over, and I never used it again. So I don't think I'm going to waste $20 on just dyeing my beard purple for a live stream just to see if I can get some laughs out of it. I don't mind doing dumb shit to get laughs out of it, but it's got to be free dumb shit that I can get a laugh out of. I think I probably got the wrong kind of dye. I asked the person at the store, I made it apparent, I don't know shit about hair dye. This is what I want to do. This is what we're going to be dyeing. What do you think would work best for this? I just want something temporary. It's going to wash out after a week or two. And so I got this stuff. I think the problem was I got the neon. She showed me, here's the selection. This is what you want to use. You pick your color. And I looked at the dark forest green, and then I saw the bright neon green, and the cap on the neon green just made it look like it would just pop off of my face. If I'd gone with the dark forest green, it probably would have given me a nice green beard. So that was probably my mistake of picking the wrong color too. But I don't, possibly gray hair is harder to dye. It might be, I don't know. I don't know anything about dyeing hair. I know when people have really dark hair and they want to color it, a lot of times they'll bleach it first and they'll strip the color out and then, dye the lighter hair afterwards. But I don't know about the gray hair. That's interesting. All right. And I am determined I'm going to get through this joint before this live stream is over. I did feel like tonight's Friday night's live stream for some reason. I even started typing in that Friday night live with Dan, and then I realized that I said, wait a minute, it's not Friday night, is it? So I'm all thrown off. It's probably post holidays, my wife having odd days off work and, not being able to spray customers on certain days. And it takes a while. January is just the shittiest month of the year. Yeah, gray. There is something about gray hair that makes it gray. It's not just a lack of pigmentation. It's there's air bubbles trapped in it, or there's something about it that makes it refract light differently and causes it to be gray. So that could have trouble with the absorption of the dye, and it could certainly have issues with, I know when you're using a paints and stuff, whether you use a dark or a light primer will completely change what the paint looks like afterwards, whether it's got a dark background versus a light background. So possibly with the light refraction through it, the dyes never come out looking right. That makes sense to me. Coming of age day. It's an interesting holiday. Can you imagine if they had like a holiday in America just like for you're 21 now? And like how Americanized we would make that. It would be just like a day of young men getting shit-faced drunk, puking on themselves for the first time. Oh, I could use that. Not real spray paint, but they do make like spray on dye that's meant for just going to a party and you wash it out when you get home that night. I could do something like that maybe if it's, $4 a can or something. What I really want to do, my dream, is to just have a whole bunch of different wigs. And then every night when we started a show, I'd be able to start the show with some different fabulous head of hair. Only in a wig because I don't actually want the fucking hair on my head. But I think it would be awesome. You never know whether I'm going to have like long blonde flowing hair or tight short curly hair or, comb over. It could be anything. If it was wigs, that would just be fun. Yeah, that's exactly what it would be here in America is beer bong day, the get ridiculously drunk day. We make every holiday into that anyway. St. Patrick's is probably the worst for that. There's probably a few people that think of it as like a sort of religious celebration about some saint or something. Most people think St. Patrick's Day is the day you're supposed to puke up green dyed beer. I don't know if an argument is the right word, but I definitely got very stern with a member of the wait staff at the dive bar I used to go to. It was I was up there drinking on St. Patrick's Day, and I got Guinness because that's what I drank. It wasn't that it was St. Patrick's Day that I was getting the Guinness. I just got Guinness because I always get Guinness. And I'm weird about food and stuff like that. That's not a secret. You bring me a beer that's dyed fucking green and it's going back. Do not bring me a fucking green beer. I want a Guinness and I want it to be a Guinness. And she's like, okay, I got it. I was like, no green. She's like, I got it. Just a Guinness. Like, oh God, I would have been so upset if she brought me a Guinness and had fucking green foam on the top. Fuck you. Take this shit back and give me a real goddamn Guinness. I don't want your stupid green beer. Other people may think it's fun. I know technically it doesn't change the flavor, but as we've discussed, presentation and what you think about it and how you feel about it all makes a difference. And I'm weird about food. I don't want fucking green beer. That just does weird things in my brain, and it's going to affect my enjoyment of my Guinness. I didn't go into all that with her, but I did make it very, very fucking clear that I did not expect to get a goddamn green beer. And I didn't. All night long, I did not. I didn't have to say that again. I made that very clear the first time. She did not have to be told a second time, don't bring me a green fucking Guinness. I don't know why it sticks out in my memory, but I think about that from time to time. I just kind of laugh at myself. She never even suggested she was going to bring me a green Guinness. I just kind of assumed that was what was going to happen, and it upset me. All right. Yeah, Zini's been on a coke bender lately. He's going to crash hard. Coming down off that shit's rough, I hear. Yeah, Guinness is the true king of all beers. I don't drink anymore or whatever. I got nothing against it if other people want to, but I can't drink. But boy, when I did, I enjoyed fucking Guinness. That is the best beer ever. Now, I will have to say, I will narrow that down. I don't know why I always get to talking about beer and drinking and whatnot, but I will narrow that down to Guinness Draft. Guinness Stout is good, but even for me who likes a really heavy, dark beer, Guinness Stout's getting a bit much. You almost need a spoon for Guinness Stout. Guinness Draft is that sweet spot where it's really heavy, but it's also good. It's not like drinking a fucking bowl of oatmeal. So not just Guinness. It's got to be the Guinness Draft that I like. You don't see the foam and the cascade and all that, because if you get Guinness Stout, you pour it into a glass. It looks like a glass of motor oil, used motor oil. It's just black liquid. There's no bubbles. There's no foam. You don't get any of that on Guinness Stout. That only comes, I mean, you get a little tiny bit of foam because it's beer. But you get that big cascade and all that glorious amazingness with the stout because of the pressurization, and it's all nitrogen gas and everything. It's all part of the Guinness Stout. Like, that's its own thing, is the Guinness Stout. That's the good one. All right, what else are we going to talk about? All right, it's already after 10 o'clock, so you guys are into overtime now. You're eating into my time. WBZ. I'm not even sure what that means there. Eyeball. Is that something the kids are saying these days, or is it something blindingly obvious that I'm going to feel dumb for not understanding when you tell me? Because that happens a lot. Let's see. Skull. Is that a kind of beer? I actually say that about Guinness, but there's probably 1,000 beers out there I've never tasted, little local breweries, and but commercially available beers. I've had a lot of different brands over the years, or back when I drank, I did. Yeah, I've never even heard of the Skull. I haven't, remember, it's been almost 15 years since I stopped drinking, so there's probably 1,000 brands that have come out since I stopped drinking that I've never even heard of before. The Zine Machine. Oh, I got something I can. Skulls equals cheers. I got you. I was probably in my mid-20s before I ever realized that Dos Equis beer was just Spanish for XX or double X. I thought Dos Equis was like somebody's last name, or it meant something. Well, I mean, it does mean something, but it means two X's. I never realized it was just two X's was the name of the fucking beer. And of course, I know the iconic two X's on the red X's on the label. But I was in my mid-20s by the time I found out that Dos Equis was two X's. Skull certainly sounds like Viking shit. Oh, I got a Doctor Who thing I can tell you, because I know how much you guys love when I talk about Doctor Who. That's always a good way to start winding the show down. I can get half of you to leave by talking about Doctor Who for 5 minutes. I'm not going to talk about it for that long, but I am going to talk about it. I'm even going to show you a picture. I got all excited the other day because, I'd forgotten that it was the day that one of my new Doctor Who videos posted. It was Wednesday. I was like, oh, sweet. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, no. Because it was a William Hartnell. I'm still waiting on part 6 of the fucking Key to Time. They still haven't done the final Key to Time yet. But so they posted a William Hartnell episode, and he's just, I really don't like watching. They're just hard to get through for me. I don't like the original Doctor episodes. I know that's not cool to say that if you're a Doctor Who person or whatever, but that, it's the same way I bash on really, really early Pink Floyd. I consider myself a huge fan. That gives me the right to say I don't like the early stuff. I've listened to it a lot, and I know I don't like it. I'm really familiar with all the William Hartnell stuff. I'm not a fan of the early years. So anyway, it was one of them, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then it got even worse because I know I took a screen cap in here somewhere. There it is. It turned out that it was one of the lost episodes. There's a lot of really early episodes where either all or part of the video was lost, but they still have the audio, or they still have the script, and they can do dialogue over it, if those actors were still alive later. And so some of the very, very early episodes that were lost have been reposted with partial animation filled in for the gaps. This one was not only a William Hartnell episode, but it was fully animated. There was no real video at all. And this is what the fucking animation looked like. It was like watching somebody's goddamn nightmare. I watched about 8 minutes of it, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Found a Tom Baker episode to start watching for the 94th time. But yeah, I was so bummed out. Like, that was my Wednesday's. Oh, here's another. This is the animation in that fucking. So it was original audio. You got all the crackling and popping and mistakes that they left in and flubbed lines that get left in because they didn't have time or money to fix it. All that was still there, but then you got that fucking animation on top of it, and it was a terrible episode. So big bummer letdown on my Doctor Who this week. Last night I did get a really good Tom Baker episode though, so they made up for it. All right, that's all my Doctor Who talk I got for you. Yeah, nobody likes clowns. Terry Pratchett said that the point of clowns is to make you feel better when they go away. Which I can totally see as the purpose of clowns. I fucking hate clowns. I always have. I don't remember, but I was probably one of those kids that cried at the circus when the fucking clowns came towards me. I don't ever remember having an experience with a clown. Maybe I'm blocking it from my memory. Maybe it was that traumatic that I just don't even have it in there anymore. All right. I keep holding my damn phone instead of my tablet. I'm keep figuring out what I'm looking for. I can't find it on the screen anywhere. I'm looking for your comments. And they're on this, not that. I'm probably not really going to appreciate how mushroomy I am until I go in the other room and have time to sit down and digest the live stream. And then I'm going to look around and think, holy shit. Yeah, I don't hang around clowns either. Has anybody seen the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Classic cult movie. It's actually a really good movie in a very low budget. We play the ball tank. Do I feel some GIFs coming up from the Dan's junk sequence? No, I'm going to let that one go. I'm not even going to go back and look at that. I do enough of my own OnlyFans editing. I don't need to see more of it on my damn YouTube channel. Yeah, now I'm not gonna say you guys shouldn't go back. If anybody's joined us recently and missed earlier in the live stream, I set up my new fish tower over here. Neil suggested that instead of, we could look at the fish tower and me, because I could just set my stool on the other side of the fish tower and just sort of do my sitting down part of the live stream in front of the fish tower. And of course, I sat down on it. I got no room for my legs, so I'm sitting on it, more or less with my legs spread open, facing directly towards the camera. And you all know I don't wear pants when I do my live streams. I thought the fish tank would sort of obscure the view a little bit, and it probably did enough to keep me from getting arrested. But it didn't obscure enough, that's for sure. I couldn't get a really good look at it because of the glare on the monitor. But when I did get when I did sort of focus on it, I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't look appropriate at all, does it? Oh, I didn't even realize the magnified. Well, that's all right then. I don't mind if it magnified it. In fact, we might do that more often now that I'm thinking about it. Well, like I said, I look at my own OnlyFans videos, so I don't have to worry about any horrible visions that I'm not expecting to see. I've seen shit my doctor probably isn't familiar with, so I'm not too worried about that. But I might look back at it for shits and giggles. That might actually make a good GIF. You never know. Apparently, Eyeball, it was a puffer fish, according to what everybody is telling me. Posted as a short. Now, that might
that might not be a bad idea. You know, not all ideas are good ideas kind of video. Just because it sounds like a good idea doesn't mean it is. Because it sounded like a great idea. It really, I got excited about that. I was like, oh yeah, that's fucking cool. I'll do that. But it didn't work out. That might be the single greatest moment of all my live streaming so far. Certainly my most iconic. And unfortunately, probably my most memorable. All right, I need to stop hitting on this. It's not fucking chewing gum, it's nicotine. Now, if you weren't me, I could have seen that as being embarrassing. But I find it hilarious. I had a slight twinge of concern about I possibly could have offended somebody. And then I thought, well, you know what? If that offended them, fuck them. They need to get a sense of humor. If that offended them, Jesus. So I don't care if it did. It was still funny as shit. Legendary moment. And the fact that it made Zini's life worth living. I can only imagine the joy, the sheer utter joy on that man's face. And Zini doesn't experience joy very often, so the fact that there was a joyous occasion for him makes me happy. Oh, God. All right. I'm doing a remarkably good job of not actually saying really inappropriate shit that I could be saying to all this stuff. Because again, I'm used to being in front of the camera in a lot of other circumstances besides that. That was fucking ridiculously nothing. That was just funny. I go down and get my mail in my underwear, talk to my neighbors. I still laugh at my poor neighbor. My poor neighbor must, like, every time he's ever seen me, I've been in my underwear. Thinks I'm that crazy old man across the street. Oh, I almost snorted on you. All right, everybody. I'm trying to wind down here. You give me something to chew on, I'll probably stand here a little longer because I'm having fun. I got nothing better to do when I'm done doing this, so I may as well just stand here. But I need something to work with. I can't burn snow, people. I always tell you that. I want to get the fish lights turned out just so we can see the disco balls, but I have a feeling that once I go down to disco ball level, the show will be over much more abruptly because that fucking is only, I can only do my head so much with the disco ball before it starts giving me a headache, make my eyes feel like they're spinning around in their sockets. And nobody likes that. All right, everybody. I will start putting some stuff in the other room and start packing up and winding down. Oh, no way. I fucking hate strobe lights. I cannot stand having a strobe light around. Even the disco ball, once it's just the disco ball, that sort of flashing light and spinning lights, that really bugs me. Not in like an epileptic kind of way, but in it's just a sensory kind of thing. Weird smells bother me, weird noises and stuff, bother me. I'm weird with my food and like flashing lights and spinning lights. Like when I was a kid, my parents would take me up the street if there was an accident, all the fucking neighbors gather around to gawk at the scene. I always was horrified, not only by the scene I was seeing, but horrified by the fact that all the neighbors are standing around. I know it's just interest and curiosity. This was back in the 70s when, you had 3 channels of TV.
But still, I was just like, why are we like? I don't want to see this fucking sick person being loaded into an ambulance. Like it's a car accident. Like, why are we fucking here doing this? But the thing that I hated about it was, you know, the fire engines and the cop cars and the ambulance, all these flashing fucking lights used to just drive me crazy. So I'm definitely not down with the strobe light and all that shit. It would be weird. It would be cool to have a strobe light in here. You'd probably buy one at Walmart for $5 now. I showed this to Steve, and he seemed surprised by it. He thought this was more of a traditional disco ball. I've showed you guys this before, but I paid $12 for this. Um, it's just a light bulb that screws into the socket, and the outside of it doesn't even rotate. There's just a flat plate with angled reflectors on it, and the flat plate rotates. And then there's red, green, and blue LEDs in like a bar. And, you know, just the flickering light comes off the spinning disc. And you just screw it into a regular light socket. You can even do it on a, you know, screw it into a standing lamp and have it project up onto the ceiling. Disco balls have come a long way, baby. Yeah, I can see your birds not liking them. I never said I wasn't a weirdo. See, so in fact, I always say I never said I wasn't a weirdo. The days are getting longer, only a little bit, but they are getting longer. What is more noticeable to me is that when you do get a day when the sun is actually shining and there's no wind blowing on you and you can just feel the sun, it's noticeably stronger than it was, you know, a month and a half ago or, you know, a month ago. So it's coming around. We're getting there. Sure you do, Eyeball. I'll take your word for it, though. We don't have to have a contest to prove it. That's just because it's not 20. What did I miss that again? Oh, the temperature and the sun. No, even on a cold day where it's, you know, I can feel the crispness of the air. Just the rays of the sun are stronger. The sun's getting higher in the sky. So we're going to go through colder weather. We still got February and everything else ahead of us. I talked about this the other day, too. I think I was talking to Steve about it. I watched a video recently that talked about the difference between, like, why is the first day of winter like not really that cold, but the last day of winter, you know, is when, you know, by then the sun's already coming around. And it showed a graph that showed you the curvature of the days, you know, the length of the days and the shortest day versus the longest day. And then it showed you a graph that showed you the curvature of the temperature. And it was basically the same curve, but it was just like offset by a month and a half. Because even though the sun is up here and you're getting the peak rays, it takes time for that energy to absorb and for the weather and the temperature overall to start coming up and catching up with how much sun it's actually getting. So if you actually just go outside, again, whether it's cold or not, doesn't matter. It could be a 5-degree day out. As long as you don't have the wind blowing on you, you're just feeling the sunshine on you. It's just, it feels stronger than it does at, you know, December 21st when it's at the lowest point on the horizon. So the sun is definitely noticeably coming up on the horizon. That's to me anyway. But yeah, we're definitely going to be getting colder and colder weather. Let's see, sunspots and solar winds next month. Didn't we just have like a thing? I don't really pay attention to that kind of news at all anymore. But I thought we just had a big thing with the aurora could be seen all the way down in the Midwest and shit from a big solar flare that hit us or something. Bob, you're still there. And I won't have any more, on a completely different note. I won't have any more room to add new emojis based on the number of memberships I have. So if people do want me to add new emojis, then I need more members. In the meantime, if I get a whim to add a new emoji, what I've been doing was removing the emojis we just don't use anymore. So far, I haven't added any new emojis. I've just replaced existing ones. I don't have any room to add any more. So I noticed there's the butterbean emoji. I'm reluctant to get rid of that one because it's butterbean. But I think I already got rid of the Windex. I got rid of the gun show arm because I don't really even work out anymore. I look at my arms on the live streams and I just think, oh well, I guess I'm done with that now. My arms are gone. God damn, it sure does. You're like the 10th person tonight that's popped up your big blue green bar there. Yeah, that's what I say. I don't think I'll get rid of butterbean. Yeah, I've never seen the aurora either. There's been a few times in my life, fairly recently, where it would have technically been far enough south for me to see, but I would have had to been like in Western Maryland, up on the top of a mountain, and the conditions would have had to been, perfectly clear. And I'm honestly, if they told me I could possibly see it in the middle of the night, I wouldn't get up to go look at it. Where I live, unless it's happening directly overhead, I'm really not going to see it because I basically live in the woods. I got trees all around me. And so I can't see shit on the sky. But I don't know. The aurora would be something fucking awesome to see. That'd just be absolutely amazing. All right, everybody. Last thoughts. Where are you, Neil? Like, generally speaking, you don't have to give me your address, obviously. All right, what else do I need to take out of here? I can take this out of here. I think we can turn down to the disco ball lights at this point. Caught myself walking back in the room doing this, checking to see if I'm seeing trails. I'm seeing little trails, getting a little bit of trail action happening, but not a ton. But the fact that I'm walking around doing this to see if I'm getting trails lets you know how much on the mushrooms I am. Oh, okay, so that's what I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking Northern California for some reason, but I thought you were up north somewhere. Yeah, I was thinking about seeing the mushroom, seeing the aurora and shrooms, but I decided I'm not even going to say it. That's obvious. I'm usually good on the garbage. We have one of those big bins with the rollers on it, and it's just me and my wife. So the bin doesn't fill up very fast. It's way out by the shed. It's nowhere near the house, so it's not like even in the summertime we can smell it or anything. So when it's starting to get full, I want to take it out just for the sake of the garbage truck guys, so they don't have all that shit to deal with. But there's so many times where I'm like, fuck, I forgot all about it. And I do it the week after. So it's not like if I miss it a week, it's that big of a deal. So I don't get in trouble when I honestly don't get in trouble for anything really, but I don't get in trouble when I miss the taking the garbage out. All right, let's see what these disco lights really look like. And I don't know about you guys, but I tried an experiment tonight with, instead of drinking my mushroom tea as the live stream started, if I stand at the right angle, you really get the color glinting through my beard. Which angle is it? There you go. There's a little bit of it. There's some.
I decided tonight that instead of drinking the tea at the beginning of the live streaming, having it really kick in, because it takes like a solid hour to an hour and a half before it's like fully on you. I decided tonight that I would drink it earlier. I wish I drank it even earlier. I did drink it at like 7:30. I should have drank it about 6:30, honestly, and then we'd have been rolling right as soon as we went live. But I definitely had a good time tonight. So I think drinking the tea a little earlier and kind of getting started before the live stream goes, it makes it more fun. So you all give me your opinion about that or not. Hope you guys had a good time tonight, because I know I did. I think this is going to be one of the live streams that lives on in my live stream legendarium. And that's saying something for a legend like me. I've got a lot of legendary shit out there. Tonight's was a good one. Pour one out for Gus. About 6 hours, maybe a little longer than that. You might still sort of feel the tail end of it. But usually when I'm thinking about like when I'm going to be getting to sleep, I always give myself a solid 6 hours. I can kind of fall asleep on the tail end of mushrooms, but usually when I'm rolling along pretty good, it's hard to sleep. I'm just brain's going too fast and all that. And so tonight I probably won't get to bed till 2 a.m. or something. All in all, though, you're looking at maybe 6 to the max is maybe 8 hours. I guess it probably affects everybody a little differently. But it's not like LSD where you take it. And I have known people that would do a 6 or 8 hour trip and they'd just be done. For me, LSD was minimum 12 to 15 hours. Sometimes it would go 18. I would just trip for fucking ever when I would take LSD. Mushrooms aren't like that. Mushrooms is 6 hours start to finish, you know? Were you here for the talk about Gus earlier, Eyeball? I'm not sure you that's Gus anyway. If you didn't know, the little mushroom with the smiley face painted on it there is Gus. Zini named him Gus on Friday night's live stream. I painted the face on later, and then I made him into an emoji. Yeah, exactly. And that's the point I was getting at. LSD is a fucking commitment. You know, you need the weekend to do LSD. You need a day of no responsibility and a day to recover from it. Mushrooms, especially in these smaller doses like I'm taking tonight, I took a little more than I normally do. I normally take about a gram. Tonight I did 1.5 grams. But if you were spending a day at the park or something, or you were going out fishing and you were going to be out there for 4 or 5 hours, if you drank the tea before you left, you'd have a nice day at the park and then be perfectly fine to drive home, 6 hours later or 5 hours later. So I'm a huge fan of mushrooms now. I love them. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I figured you guessed who Gus was because he got popped up every time, but I didn't know if you knew the whole story of where Gus came from and how Gus came to be in our lives for such a short yet impactful period. He was only with us for a brief time, but he made a big difference in our lives. Yeah, and the tea is the way to go too. If you make it into tea, you can drink it, and there's none of the fucking eating it part, because that's always horrible. Getting it down, when you're eating mushrooms, just people put them in peanut butter and mix them into milkshakes, and people go through great lengths to get the mushrooms down because they're so gross. And then you got all the stomach stuff. You got all the cramps and indigestion and gas and all that shit from eating them. If you make it into tea, I just put a little flavoring in the water, like some fruit punch flavoring. It doesn't taste great, but it doesn't taste like mushrooms either. It just sort of tastes like off fruit punch. And then you get no stomach issues. You don't get any upset stomach, no indigestion, gas, cramps, nothing. It's like drinking a glass of water.
And the water also makes it, you don't have to digest the mushrooms since the psilocybin's in the water. It gets right into your system. So within 30 minutes of drinking your tea, you're feeling the effects of it start to come on to you. So if you're going to do mushrooms and you got half an hour to prepare them, make it into tea rather than eating them. Aquariums boss, how are you? What a Fox and family coming in hot at the last minute. How are you? Yeah, I don't. The batch of mushrooms wasn't ready on Friday night, but I wanted to eat mushrooms on Friday night. So Friday morning, I opened the bag up and I took two of the biggest mushrooms that had actually already opened. I took them out on Friday morning and dried them, and I ate one. And the other one was the one I was just showing everybody on camera, saying this is about the size of the mushroom I ate. And Zini just fell in love with that little mushroom. He named it Gus. And so I took a Sharpie and put a little smiley face on him, and the rest is history. You guys know the rest of the story after that. But Gus got ground up and made into tea and consumed yesterday. So rest in peace, Gus. Or rest in gut, Gus. Although I guess by now Gus is no longer with us in any capacity. You know, when you think about how, you know, the human digestion system works. All right, everybody. It is now 10:30. So I'm definitely going to wind down. The disco ball is starting to get on my nerves. And I got some sitting to do in the other room. So I'm going to get started on doing that. I will be back on Wednesday night. We got everything working again. My camera's back. I know what was wrong. If it goes wrong again, I know how to get it hooked back up. I know what that problem was. I don't know why that problem happened. It doesn't make any sense to me, really, why it just suddenly disconnected from YouTube. What the issue was YouTube was no longer given permission to use my camera. I set it years ago to give permission, and it's just always been that way. And then suddenly in the middle of my live stream, the camera just went blank. And it took me a long time to figure it out, but that's what it was. It was the YouTube setting just not giving the camera permission. All I got to do is turn that back on and everything was fine again. So there you go. All right, Steve, you're coming in at the last minute because I am finally saying goodnight. But you get to say hey to Eyeball real quick. I'll go take this in the other room. I think this is the last thing I've got to take in the other room, and then I will be done with my packing up for the night. And I can officially start saying goodbye. All right, everybody, you guys are all starting to drop off, so that's my sign to let me know everybody's getting the hint. All right, well, hurry up and have your little, how you guys doing with each other, because I'm going to end the live stream. I don't want to end you guys in the middle of a conversation. That would feel rude of me. All right, Neil, we will catch you on Wednesday. Oh, no, we won't. Keep thinking you're a member. Catch you next Friday. Yeah, I've been winding down since 10 o'clock trying to get out of here. But again, I got nothing better to do, really. My back's starting to hurt. I'm tired of standing here. And I'm starting to go off on that weird train of thought, rambling stuff. I did have stuff I was thinking about earlier when I was in the shower, but then I decided that I wasn't going to talk about that on tonight's live stream. It had nothing to do with being in the shower. I was thinking about disagreements and how people disagree with each other and, you know, all that kind of shit. And I just decided I'm not going there tonight, and I'm not. So other than that, I didn't have a whole lot on my mind. I don't think so there, What a Fox and family. You'd be highlighted if you'd gotten a membership.
I try to be there, Steve. My night on drugs was fantastic. You should. I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you, but you should go back and watch the live stream because it was fucking awesome. Shit, I was in the middle of saying something. I don't remember now. Oh, if you were gifted a membership, you'd have a highlighted name and everything. And when people gift memberships, it's just random. I don't know how. Oh, Cheeseburger XL just got a gift membership from Zini. Thank you, Zini. But see, that's how it works. All you can do is gift a membership, and then YouTube just gives it to somebody based on, I don't even know who that person is, but they've got a membership now. I don't know, Gus. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, go back, watch the live stream if you missed it. It was epic. Most legendary live stream ever. You'll never be able to sleep the same again. It will change your life. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it'll definitely change your life. Oh, sweet. Zini nailed it on the second try. Look at that. I'm glad I hung out for an extra minute or two. Nice. Best live stream ever. Legendary live stream. I'm going to save this one for the archives. I'll think about, clipping some stuff and see about doing a short or well, if you had a house full of kids, that does sound like the worst day ever. Although I don't know if that's why you're saying it was the worst day ever, but that sounds like the worst day ever to me. I'm not a big kid person, if you didn't already know that about me. Anyway, I have got to go because my back is killing me. Rosie, coming in hot at the last second because I am really saying goodnight for Realsy Reels this time. So conversations are over. You got your membership. Again, let's go out on a good high note right now before I ruin it by saying something stupid. So, all right, everybody. I hope you guys had as good a time tonight as I did. I don't know how you would have, but I hope you did. My members, I will see you guys on Wednesday. Again, we're back to things as usual for the most part, unless otherwise noted. So members, I will see you on Wednesday. Oh, Zini dropped the last one. The last minute. Well, you can be here Wednesday now. What a Fox and Family. You're a member. You got your membership now. So on Wednesday, you can join us. So don't forget, Wednesday night at 8 p.m., we do a private members-only live stream. So if you're a member or a new member, you just got a membership, tune in on Wednesday at 8. You get a secret private members-only live stream. For everybody else, I will see you guys next Friday. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Good night.